In the biblical context, prior to the Great Flood, the state of the earth had deteriorated significantly. The world was marked by deep corruption and rampant violence. Humanity had strayed far from the righteous paths set by God, becoming increasingly consumed by sin and wickedness. This moral decay and degradation are vividly captured in Genesis 6:5. "And the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." This verse paints a grim picture of a world where evil had become pervasive and unrelenting. Witnessing the extensive corruption and moral decay that had overtaken the earth, God resolved to take a drastic measure to cleanse the world and restore order. The decision was made to send a universal flood, a cataclysmic event intended to purge the earth of its pervasive wickedness and start anew. Amid this backdrop of moral failure and divine judgment, Noah emerged as a beacon of righteousness. Unlike the people of his time, who had given in to their sinful nature, Noah distinguished himself through his unwavering integrity and steadfast faith. The Bible highlights Noah's exceptional character in Genesis 6:9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. This description of Noah is profound, signifying that he not only adhered to a righteous path, but also maintained a deeply personal and continuous relationship with God. His life was characterized by a commitment to divine principles, and his actions were aligned with the will of God. Noah's faith was not merely a superficial adherence, but a deeply ingrained belief that guided his every action. His obedience to God was not just a matter of following commandments, but a reflection of his entire way of life, demonstrating a true alignment with God's intentions. The extraordinary nature of Noah's mission is underscored by his selection to carry out a task of monumental significance. His exemplary faith and integrity made him the sole candidate worthy of leading humanity through one of the most pivotal events in biblical history. God's choice of Noah for this mission highlights the profound impact of individual righteousness and the role it plays in the broader narrative of divine intervention and restoration. Noah's selection was not only a testament to his personal virtue, but also an indication of the potential for redemption and renewal, even in the face of widespread moral failure. Thus, Noah's story serves as a powerful reminder of the possibilities for change and salvation when one remains faithful and true to the principles of God. God revealed to Noah his plan to destroy all flesh with a flood, but he also provided detailed instructions for building an ark that would save Noah, his family, and a remnant of all living creatures. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. Genesis 6:14. The construction of the ark was a monumental task that required faith, perseverance, and skill. God provided Noah with specific dimensions and instructions for building the ark, ensuring that it would be capable of housing all those who would be aboard during the flood. Noah meticulously followed all of God's instructions, demonstrating his unwavering faith and trust in the divine plan, and Noah did according to all that God commanded him. Genesis 6:22. When the ark was completed, God commanded Noah to enter it with his family and the selected animals. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." Genesis 7:1. Thus Noah, his wife, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, along with pairs of every species of animal, entered the ark. God shut the door of the ark, and the floodwaters began to fall, covering the entire earth and destroying all flesh outside the ark. For 40 days and 40 nights, rain fell incessantly, and the waters prevailed over the earth for 150 days. The ark floated on the waters, preserving Noah, his family, and the animals. Eventually, the waters began to recede, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. After a time, Noah sent out a dove to see if the waters had subsided. When the dove returned with an olive leaf, Noah knew that the earth was again habitable. When the waters finally receded, God commanded Noah to leave the ark and repopulate the earth. "Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you." Genesis 8:16. In gratitude and reverence, Noah built an altar and offered sacrifices to God. In response, God blessed Noah and his family and established a covenant with them. promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Genesis 9:12-13. Thus Noah and his family were chosen by God to survive the flood due to their righteousness. God blessed Noah and his sons, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth." Genesis 9:1. With this blessing, Noah became the root of a new world, and each of his sons was tasked with founding different peoples and nations. The mission given by God to Noah's sons after the flood was clear: repopulate the earth and spread their lineages across various regions. Each son received a distinct area to populate. Shem, the firstborn, is frequently associated with the Middle East and is seen as the ancestor of the Semitic peoples, including the Hebrews and Arabs. The Bible highlights Shem's lineage for its spiritual and historical significance, as it is from this line that Abraham, the patriarch of the people of Israel, would come. God made a profound promise to Abraham, stating, "And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Genesis 12:3. This divine promise was not just a blessing, but a pivotal declaration that set the stage for significant historical and theological developments. The mission entrusted to Shem and his descendants was integral to shaping the course of human civilization and the evolution of major religious traditions that continue to impact the modern world. The Bible provides insight into the descendants of Shem, listing his sons as Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Each of these names represents a distinct lineage that played a significant role in the development of ancient cultures and societies. For example, Elam is traditionally associated with the ancient Elamite civilization in what is now southwestern Iran. Ashur is linked to the Assyrian Empire, known for its powerful influence in Mesopotamia. Arphaxad is considered a progenitor of the Chaldeans, and Lud is connected to the Lydians of Anatolia. Aram, the father of Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash, is related to the Arameans, who established various city-states in the Near East. These names and the cultures they represent have had a lasting impact on history. The civilizations that emerged from these lineages contributed to the cultural, political, and religious landscape of their times, leaving legacies that are still studied and admired today. The influence of Shem's descendants can be seen in the numerous historical narratives, archaeological discoveries, and theological discussions that span thousands of years. For instance, the Assyrian Empire, which is connected to the descendants of Ashur, was a major political and military power in the ancient Near East. Its contributions to administrative practices, military strategy, and cultural exchanges significantly influenced surrounding regions and subsequent civilizations. Similarly, the Elamites, with their own rich cultural heritage, were notable for their advancements in art, architecture, and statecraft. The Bible's mention of these ancient peoples serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of human history and the ways in which different cultures and civilizations have influenced one another. The descendants of Shem not only played a critical role in the ancient world, but also laid foundational elements for future developments in various fields, such as governance, religion, and cultural practices. As we reflect on the legacy of Shem and his descendants, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complex tapestry of human history and the ongoing impact of these ancient civilizations on contemporary society. The promise made to Abraham that all the families of the earth shall be blessed through his lineage underscores the significance of these historical connections and the enduring influence of these ancient cultures on the world we live in today. Japheth, the second son, was tasked with repopulating the regions of Europe and parts of Asia. His descendants are frequently associated with various European and Asian nations, reflecting the expansion and diversity of the cultures that arose in these areas. The Bible mentions that the sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras, Genesis 10:2. These names indicate a broad geographical dispersion, reflecting the diversity of cultures and civilizations that emerged under Japheth's line. The Bible also says, "May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." Genesis 9:27. This verse highlights not only Japheth's blessing, but also the interconnectedness between the lines of Noah's sons, each playing a unique role in the unfolding of human history. Ham, the third son, had a special designation to repopulate the regions of Africa. The line of Ham is of particular interest to the history of African peoples, as his descendants gave rise to many of the ancient African civilizations. The Bible lists the sons of Ham as Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, Genesis 10:6. These names are synonymous with major African nations and cultures, each of which significantly contributed to the formation of the African identities and traditions we know today. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, each undertook distinct and significant missions that shaped the repopulation and diversification of the earth following the Great Flood. Their roles in this divine plan mapped out a new world order, reflecting the profound richness and complexity of God's creation. The blessings and responsibilities bestowed upon Noah's sons were not merely ceremonial, they were imbued with profound implications for the future of humanity. These blessings carried the weight of both immense privilege and substantial responsibility. Noah's sons were entrusted with the task of repopulating the earth and establishing the new societal and cultural structures that would define the post-flood world. Each of them was given a specific mandate, and their descendants would go on to populate various regions, contribute to the development of distinct civilizations, and lay down foundational elements for future cultures and religions. Shem's descendants, for instance, were tasked with establishing cultures and societies that played pivotal roles in the development of major ancient civilizations. The line of Shem is closely associated with the emergence of the Semitic peoples, including the Hebrews, who would go on to become a central focus in the biblical narrative. The civilizations and cultures originating from Shem's lineage contributed significantly to the spiritual and cultural heritage of the ancient Near East. Their legacies are reflected in the enduring religious traditions and historical developments that continue to influence the modern world. Ham's descendants were given the responsibility of settling regions primarily in Africa and parts of the Near East. This lineage is linked with the establishment of several ancient civilizations, such as those in Egypt, Cush, Ethiopia, and Canaan. The cultural and historical impact of Ham's descendants is evident in the rich traditions and historical achievements of these regions, including advancements in architecture, art, and governance that have left a lasting imprint on human history. Japheth's descendants, on the other hand, were tasked with populating the vast regions of Europe and parts of Asia. This lineage is associated with a wide array of cultures and peoples that emerged in these areas, contributing to the diversity and complexity of the ancient and medieval worlds. The influence of Japheth's descendants is evident in the numerous civilizations that arose in Europe and Asia, each contributing to the rich tapestry of human history through their distinct cultural and societal advancements. The collective efforts of Noah's sons and their descendants in the post-flood era were instrumental in the reconstruction of the world. Their contributions established not only cultural and spiritual foundations, but also the frameworks for governance, social organization, and religious practices that would shape human civilization for centuries to come. Each son and their lineage left an indelible mark on biblical history and the formation of peoples and nations, influencing the trajectory of human development and the evolution of diverse cultures across the globe. As we reflect on the roles and legacies of Noah's sons, we gain a deeper understanding of the intricate ways in which divine plans and human actions intersected to shape the course of history. The diverse missions of Shem, Ham, and Japheth underscore the complexity and richness of God's creation, highlighting the profound impact of their contributions on the world as we know it today. The Bible tells us the sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, Genesis 10:6. These descendants are fundamental to understanding the origins and dispersion of African peoples and other ancient civilizations. We begin our exploration with Cush, whose descendants are associated with Ethiopia and Sudan, regions that hosted powerful and influential cultures. Cush is often remembered as the progenitor of the Ethiopians and Nubians, peoples who played crucial roles in African history. One of Cush's most notable descendants was Nimrod, renowned for his strength and leadership abilities. The Bible recounts, Cush begot Nimrod, he began to be a mighty one on the earth, Genesis 10:8. Nimrod is credited with founding great cities such as Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, all in the land of Shinar. His story is closely tied to the construction of the Tower of Babel, a narrative that illustrates the diversity of languages and the dispersion of nations. The Tower of Babel stands as one of the most intriguing and thought-provoking narratives in the Bible. This story unfolds in a period following the Great Flood, when Noah's descendants began to repopulate the earth and establish new civilizations. Led by a mighty figure named Nimrod, the people of this era embarked on an ambitious project to construct a city and a tower that would reach the heavens. Their intent was to make a name for themselves and prevent their dispersion across the globe, thus directly challenging the divine command given to them to spread out and repopulate the earth. Nimrod, a notable descendant of Cush, is often portrayed as a formidable leader whose influence and authority were significant enough to inspire collective defiance against God's will. The construction of the Tower of Babel represented a grandiose symbol of human pride and unity in opposition to divine edicts. The builders sought to create a monumental structure that would elevate their status and centralize their power, attempting to bridge the gap between humanity and the divine realm. This act of hubris was not just a physical endeavor, but a profound statement of human ambition and rebellion against the divine order. In response to this bold defiance, God intervened in a dramatic and decisive manner. Observing the arrogance and unified ambition of the people, God chose to disrupt their plans to prevent any further consolidation of their power. He did so by confounding their languages, causing a sudden and incomprehensible breakdown in communication. This divine intervention resulted in chaos and confusion among the builders, who could no longer understand one another's speech. The confusion of languages led to a fragmentation of the once cohesive workforce and a significant impediment to their construction efforts. As a result of this divine action, the people were scattered across the face of the earth. This scattering fulfilled the original divine command that humanity should spread out and populate the earth. The once unified group was dispersed into various regions, leading to the formation of diverse cultures and languages across the globe. The city and the tower, which had symbolized human pride and defiance, were left incomplete and abandoned, serving as a poignant reminder of the limits of human ambition when it stands in opposition to divine will. The name Babel itself became emblematic of this divine intervention. The term is derived from the Hebrew word balal, which means to confuse. Thus, Babel was named as a testament to how God had confused the language of all the earth. This name encapsulates the essence of the event, the confusion of human communication, and the subsequent dispersion of people across different regions. Genesis 11:9 encapsulates this moment, stating, "Therefore it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth." The story of the Tower of Babel holds significant theological and moral lessons. It underscores the limitations of human pride and the futility of attempting to subvert divine plans. It highlights the diversity of languages and cultures as a result of human disobedience, and serves as a reminder of the power of divine authority in shaping the course of human history. This narrative, rich with symbolism and moral insight, continues to be a profound reflection on the relationship between humanity and the divine, illustrating the consequences of hubris and the importance of aligning human endeavors with divine intentions. This event marked the beginning of the multiplicity of languages and cultures, emphasizing the importance of obedience to God. Mizraim, another son of Ham, is associated with the ancient Egyptians. Egypt, with its rich history and culture, stands as one of the most fascinating civilizations of the ancient world. The Bible mentions that the sons of Mizraim were Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphtorim, Genesis 10:13-14. Egypt is renowned for its contributions in various fields, including architecture, medicine, and writing. The pyramids, for instance, are a lasting testament to the skill and ingenuity of the Egyptians. The Egyptian civilization also played a significant role in biblical history, frequently interacting with the people of Israel. Put, the third son of Ham, is less detailed in the scriptures but is believed to have settled in parts of Africa, including the Horn of Africa. Although there is less biblical information about Put, his lineage remains important for understanding the dispersion of African peoples. Finally, we have Canaan, whose descendants settled in the land that would come to be known as Canaan, a region of great biblical significance though not directly related to African peoples. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, Genesis 10:15. Ham, one of Noah's 3 sons, saw his father naked in the tent. Instead of covering Noah or acting discreetly, Ham went out and told his brothers Shem and Japheth about their father's condition. Shem and Japheth, demonstrating respect and prudence, took a cloak, placed it over their shoulders, and walked backward to cover their father, not looking at his nakedness. This attitude starkly contrasted with Ham's behavior, showing a clear difference in filial conduct and respect. When Noah awoke from his wine and learned what his youngest son had done, he pronounced a curse. Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brethren." Genesis 9:25. It is interesting to note that the curse was not directed at Ham himself, but at his son Canaan. This detail is significant and has been the subject of many interpretations. The exact reason why Noah chose to curse Canaan instead of Ham is not explicitly detailed in the Bible. Some scholars suggest this may reflect a prophetic understanding of the future role of Canaan's descendants in relation to the descendants of Shem and Japheth. The curse of Canaan has raised many theological and historical questions. This detail is crucial as, throughout history, this curse was misused to justify the enslavement of African peoples. Although the Bible does not support such an interpretation, the curse, as described, was a prophecy about the future subjugation of the Canaanites by the nations descending from Shem and Japheth. This distinction is vital to avoid historical and theological misunderstandings. In the biblical context, the curse of Canaan manifested through the conquest of Canaan by the Israelites. The land of Canaan, located in what is now Israel and Palestine, was inhabited by various Canaanite tribes. God promised this land to the descendants of Abraham, and the conquest of Canaan under Joshua was seen as the fulfillment of that promise. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you." Joshua 3:7. This event highlighted the fulfillment of Noah's prophecy concerning Canaan. Misinterpretations of the curse of Canaan over the centuries had devastating consequences. During the colonial period, this narrative was distorted to justify slavery and racism, falsely claiming that all descendants of Ham were cursed. It is crucial to demystify this false belief and understand the true biblical context. The curse of Canaan was not applied to all descendants of Ham, but specifically to the Canaanites, and its fulfillment occurred in biblical history through the conquest of Canaan. Correctly understanding the curse of Canaan helps us appreciate the justice and wisdom of God and avoid historical distortions. The biblical account does not support the idea of a generalized racial or ethnic curse. Rather, it emphasizes specific justice within the context of individual and family actions. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and merciful in all his works. Psalm 145:17. This correct understanding is vital for reconciliation and promoting a biblical reading that respects the dignity of all people. Ham, one of Noah's sons, lived in an era when longevity was a notable feature of human life. The Bible gives us a fascinating view of the patriarch's longevity, suggesting that pre-flood conditions allowed lives that extended over several centuries. Although the Bible does not explicitly record Ham's age at his death, it is reasonable to assume that, like his brothers, he lived a long and influential life. The longevity of Ham and his brothers Shem and Japheth can be attributed to several factors, including God's blessing on Noah and his family after the flood. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." Genesis 9:1. This blessing not only gave them the responsibility to repopulate the earth, but also seems to have prolonged their lives, allowing them to witness the growth of their families and nations. Ham's long life allowed him to see the development of civilizations and cultures that emerged from his descendants, including the Ethiopians, Egyptians, and Canaanites. The burial of Ham is a topic surrounded by mystery and speculation. Although the Bible does not provide specific details about the location of his burial, ancient traditions and extra-biblical accounts suggest possible locations. One popular theory is that Ham was buried in Africa, possibly in Sudan or Ethiopia, regions associated with his descendants. These areas are rich in ancient traditions and monuments that could be linked to the biblical patriarchs. Another theory suggests that Ham might have been buried in Egypt, given the significant role of his descendants, the Egyptians, in ancient history. Egypt, being one of the oldest and most enduring civilizations, has a rich tradition of funerary practices and monuments dating back to ancient times. The pyramids and tombs of the Valley of the Kings are testaments to the importance Egyptians placed on the afterlife. If Ham was indeed buried in Egypt, his tomb could be among those grand monuments. The Bible gives us clues about the importance of burials in Egyptian culture. Joseph made the children of Israel swear, saying, "God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here." Genesis 50:25, reflecting the deep connection between the patriarchs and Egypt. In addition to theories about his burial, Jewish and Christian traditions mention Ham in various apocryphal texts and midrashim that offer additional insights into his life and death. The Book of Jubilees, for example, discusses Ham's life and his disapproval of Canaan's choice to inhabit the lands of Shem, and it says, "And the land was divided among the sons of Noah, as the Lord had said, and they cast lots for their portions." Jubilees 8:10. Although these traditions are non-canonical, they enrich our understanding of the complex, the relationships and legacies of the biblical patriarchs have had a profound and lasting impact on the cultural and historical narratives of various civilizations. These patriarchs, through their actions and the divine promises associated with them, established a foundational framework that influenced not only the immediate descendants, but also reverberated across different cultures and epochs. African civilizations, in particular, have engaged deeply with these biblical stories, incorporating them into their own cultural and historical contexts. Over the centuries, these civilizations have crafted their own narratives, which both reflect and reinterpret the themes of the biblical accounts, infusing them with local experiences, values, and historical realities. This process of reinterpretation has resulted in a rich tapestry of myths and legends that are uniquely African, yet deeply connected to the biblical traditions. In Ethiopia, for example, the descendants of Cush have played a prominent role in the cultural and historical landscape. Ethiopian traditions are rich with stories that celebrate the influence and legacy of Cushite heritage. One of the most celebrated narratives in Ethiopian culture is the story of the Queen of Sheba and her interaction with King Solomon of Israel. This story is deeply embedded in Ethiopian folklore and historical tradition. The Queen of Sheba, known in Ethiopian tradition as Makeda, is a revered figure whose visit to Jerusalem is described in the Bible as a journey to test Solomon's wisdom. According to the biblical account in 1 Kings 10:1-2, the Queen of Sheba heard of Solomon's fame and traveled to Jerusalem with a large retinue and a wealth of valuable gifts, including spices, gold, and precious stones. Her visit was not merely a diplomatic gesture, but an inquiry into Solomon's renowned wisdom, which she had heard about from afar. The narrative of the Queen of Sheba is elaborated upon in Ethiopian traditions, where it is said that she and Solomon had a son named Menelik II. This legendary figure is often depicted as a significant ruler in Ethiopian history and is celebrated for his role in establishing the Solomonic dynasty, which was said to rule Ethiopia for many centuries. This connection to the biblical account of Solomon and Sheba underscores the historical significance that Ethiopia places on these ancient narratives and their implications for its own royal heritage. The Ethiopian version of the Queen of Sheba story also highlights themes of wisdom, power, and the enduring legacy of biblical figures in African traditions. This legend not only reinforces the importance of the Queen of Sheba in Ethiopian cultural memory, but also illustrates how biblical stories have been integrated into African history and identity. In addition to Ethiopia, the influence of these biblical narratives can be observed throughout the African continent. Various African cultures have their own versions of stories that resonate with the themes of the biblical patriarchs, each adapted to fit local customs and historical experiences. This adaptation process has resulted in a diverse array of interpretations that celebrate and preserve the enduring influence of these ancient narratives. The relationships and legacies of the biblical patriarchs, as reflected in African traditions, demonstrate the dynamic interplay between ancient texts and contemporary cultures. They reveal how foundational biblical stories have been woven into the fabric of African history, contributing to a richer, more complex understanding of both biblical and African cultural heritage. This ongoing reinterpretation and integration of biblical narratives into African contexts highlight the universal and enduring relevance of these ancient stories across different cultures and historical periods. According to Ethiopian tradition, the Queen of Sheba, also known as Makeda, traveled to Jerusalem to test Solomon's wisdom. The Bible begins to recount the visit of the Queen of Sheba in 1 Kings 10. 1. 2. When the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very great retinue, with camels that bore spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. The arrival of the queen was grand, with a procession that reflected the opulence and prestige of her kingdom. She brought valuable gifts, symbolizing respect and acknowledgement of Solomon's fame. Upon meeting Solomon, the queen presented him with several difficult questions and riddles, wishing to verify if his wisdom matched his reputation. Solomon, known for his God-given wisdom, answered all of the queen's questions with great discernment and clarity. And Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king which he did not explain to her. 1 Kings 10:3. The queen was impressed not only by Solomon's answers, but also by the grandeur of his palace, the organization of his kingdom, and the devotion of the people of Israel to their God. The Bible tells us that the Queen of Sheba was left speechless by Solomon's wisdom and achievements, and she said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of your acts and of your wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard." 1 Kings 10:6, 7. In Egypt, the stories of the descendants of Mizraim are deeply rooted in Egyptian mythology and traditions. The ancient Egyptians developed a complex pantheon of gods and legends reflecting their beliefs and historical experiences. The interaction between the Hebrews and the Egyptians, as recounted in the Bible, is a significant part of biblical history. Moses said to the people, "Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever." Exodus 14:13. This story of liberation and miracle is remembered not only in Jewish tradition, but has also influenced Egyptian interpretations of their interactions with the people of Israel. In the Horn of Africa, the rich and diverse traditions associated with the descendants of Cush have given rise to a tapestry of unique variations and myths that reflect the region's historical and cultural depth. Although these traditions are less documented compared to other regions, they offer fascinating insights into how biblical narratives have been woven into the fabric of local folklore and oral histories. The Horn of Africa, encompassing countries like Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Somalia, has long been a crossroads of migration and cultural exchange. This dynamic historical backdrop has facilitated a profound and ongoing interaction between the local cultures and the biblical stories that have traveled across regions over centuries. The influence of these migrations, coupled with the exchanges of ideas, goods, and traditions, has significantly shaped the region's rich heritage of myths and legends. In these cultures, elements of the biblical narratives have been adapted and reinterpreted, integrating seamlessly into the local myths and oral traditions. For instance, the descendants of Cush, who are believed to have settled in parts of the Horn of Africa, are frequently associated with powerful and influential figures in local folklore. These stories often blend biblical themes with indigenous beliefs, creating a unique fusion that reflects both the historical connections and the distinct cultural identities of the region. The legends and myths of the Horn of Africa often feature prominent figures from biblical accounts, such as Nimrod or the Queen of Sheba, but they are reimagined through the lens of local traditions and experiences. This adaptation process allows the biblical stories to resonate with local audiences, making them relevant to the cultural and historical context of the Horn of Africa. For example, the Queen of Sheba, known in local traditions as Makeda, is a central figure in Ethiopian and broader Horn of Africa folklore. Her legendary visit to King Solomon is not just a historical event, but a rich narrative that has been embellished with local myths and symbols. These stories highlight her wisdom, power, and the significant impact of her interactions with Solomon, reflecting the region's deep connection to the biblical narrative. Similarly, other biblical figures and events are incorporated into local traditions in ways that emphasize their relevance to the history and culture of the Horn of Africa. These stories often underscore themes of leadership, divine intervention, and moral lessons, mirroring the core messages of the biblical texts, while also addressing the unique historical and cultural circumstances of the region. The role of migrations and cultural exchanges in shaping these myths cannot be overstated. As different peoples moved through and settled in the Horn of Africa, they brought with them various traditions and narratives that merged with existing local beliefs. This process of cultural exchange resulted in a vibrant and diverse heritage of myths that reflect the adaptability and resilience of African cultures. These rich traditions of the Horn of Africa illustrate how biblical stories have been absorbed into the region's cultural landscape, creating a complex interplay between ancient narratives and local traditions. The myths and legends that have emerged from this synthesis offer valuable insights into the ways in which biblical and African cultural histories have influenced each other over time. By examining these traditions, we gain a deeper appreciation for the diverse ways in which biblical narratives have been integrated into the cultural practices and beliefs of different regions. The ongoing adaptation of these stories highlights the enduring relevance of biblical themes across various cultural contexts and underscores the resilience of African cultures in preserving and reinterpreting their historical and spiritual heritage. Canaanite traditions, although not directly connected to the African peoples, have nonetheless played a significant role in shaping the mythologies and historical narratives of the broader region. The Canaanites, known for their city-states and distinct religious practices, left an indelible mark on the historical and cultural landscape of what is now Israel and Palestine. Their civilization, characterized by a network of city-states with their own unique customs and deities, was integral to the region's ancient history. The Canaanites' influence extended beyond mere geography. Their interactions with the Israelites, as depicted in the Bible, illustrate a complex and often contentious relationship between different cultural and religious groups. The Bible frequently recounts these interactions, emphasizing the multifaceted nature of their relationship, marked by both conflict and cooperation. For instance, the Book of Judges notes, "And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites." Judges 3:5. Underscoring the presence of these groups and the intricate dynamics of their coexistence. This period of coexistence was often marked by tension and conflict, as well as periods of cultural and religious exchange. The Israelites and the Canaanites lived side by side, with their interactions spanning from hostile confrontations to peaceful coexistence and mutual influence. The cultural and religious practices of the Canaanites, including their worship of a pantheon of deities, and their ritualistic practices, had a profound impact on the Israelites, who were occasionally tempted to adopt Canaanite customs and beliefs. The Canaanite influence is evident in various aspects of Israelite society, including religious practices, social structures, and even language. The Canaanites' deities and rituals, such as the worship of Baal and Asherah, are mentioned in the Bible as sources of temptation for the Israelites. The interplay between the Canaanite and Israelite cultures highlights the challenges and complexities of maintaining religious and cultural identity in a diverse and dynamic environment. Despite the conflicts and challenges, the interactions between the Canaanites and the Israelites also facilitated a rich cultural and religious exchange. This exchange led to the blending of traditions, ideas, and practices, contributing to the development of a unique cultural milieu in the ancient Near East. The shared experiences and influences between these groups helped shape the religious and cultural heritage of the region, with lasting impacts on subsequent civilizations. In addition to their direct interactions with the Israelites, the Canaanites' legacy extended to their influence on neighboring cultures and peoples. Their city-states, such as Jericho, Hazor, and Ugarit, were centers of trade and cultural exchange, influencing the broader Mediterranean and Near Eastern world. The archaeological remains of Canaanite cities, with their distinctive architectural styles and artifacts, provide valuable insights into the daily life and religious practices of this ancient civilization. The Canaanite tradition, therefore, represents a crucial chapter in the history of the region, contributing to the rich tapestry of cultural and religious narratives that have shaped the ancient Near East. Their legacy, intertwined with the broader history of the Israelites and neighboring civilizations, underscores the importance of understanding the complexities of ancient cultural interactions and the enduring impact of these interactions on the development of regional mythologies and histories.